So this has been a hot week. Huh?
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting few days, to say the least. So I
Where do you
guess
want to start? Let's give people some context.
okay. So we posted a video, and I say we
Our
because
team.
everybody watched the video,
Yeah.
and just about like the video was meant to say like, wow, Fiji's so like
Land of opportunity.
land of opportunity, like we believe, like we see so much potential here. And like the question was, why do people always want to move overseas? And I think like coming from a perspective of like, to be honest, guys, like overseas is not all that it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, but you came here with like $1,000,000, so it's easy for you to say.
I wish. I wish. So a lot of the comments were turned into like a racial comment, or
Which we'll just put aside. Like we won't
let's,
even address it. Like because I have nothing to say about it.
yeah, it's just kind of foolishness. And then the other comments were like, oh well, like you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth and came here with so much money. You could never understand what like a Fijian locally born and raised has gone through.
So
And
like I think like the way that I would like to address it for those of you who haven't seen the post, just go back and check the post. It's Steph with her purple hair sitting in the back of the truck.
in a blue shirt.
Yeah, in a blue
It's
shirt.
not hard to find.
And so like there's definitely a couple ways that it could be heard, depending on the way that we got a lot of new followers, a lot of people who haven't been with us for a long time, who haven't watched us since like say vlog number 1.1.
Yeah, and the good thing is, to me, the good thing is a conversation has been started, good or bad. I think it's great for everybody in Fiji to talk about, the value of the country that they are in and are from, and to us, the
Yeah.
point of view is like, wow, it
So
is
you don't
awesome.
you listening to this don't care about this, but we're gonna talk about it anyways. We're gonna talk about where we came from. We're gonna try to make it really quick, because I feel like it's important to give people an origin story of sorts, so that people can hear like where we came from and how we got here. What did we bring with us to Fiji, and like the silver spoon thing. Did you have a silver spoon in your mouth growing up, and then like we could talk about the reality of life in Fiji and kind of like the context around like in which the video was made. And for sure, and what I'd like people to understand before we get into it is like we've decided that we have two choices. So we have three choices actually. We can keep making content that is just mental diarrhea for everybody and keep entertaining you guys with our life and give you no value whatsoever other than just blase kind of like, hey, this is what we do every day with our kids in the river.
Aren't we
And
adorable?
aren't we adorable? Going to the farm and living in the village. Like, isn't that cool? Everybody, hey, you can't say anything bad about it
Yeah.
because there's no opinion. There's nothing. It's just our life. Like,
Yeah,
this
and
is
we're,
how we
and we're
live. We're not
showing you
saying
like the
anything about it.
beauty of it.
We decided that like we don't just want to be part of the algorithm that is just like, we don't just want to entertain people mindlessly for the rest of our lives. And we want to, the intention with this whole social media thing has been to build the story of our brand, because we do not have products. We don't have generational business to like fall back on. We're starting the Waka brand from nothing. I don't, my parents were missionaries in Africa. Our housemate collected water off the streets in downtown Beira, and my mom would put bleach in the water so that we could drink the water. Like, we don't come from a lot of money. And so, like, I think people, understanding our origin story will be helpful.
Yeah, I think like both of our parents have done.
Oh, sorry, let me finish. There was three things, right,
Oh
that I
yeah.
wanted to say. I got distracted. I started having flashbacks to Africa. And,
Oh my
and,
gosh.
and so so we can mindlessly entertain you. We can bring you value, which means that like, hey, it's going to come with an opinion once in a while.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is how we did it. It doesn't mean that it's the only way to do it. It doesn't mean
No.
that going overseas is wrong in the case of
Not
this
at all.
video.
Not
It
at
doesn't
all.
mean that like you shouldn't go play rugby overseas. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't take advantage of that seasonal job. We speak from the perspective of what we see here in Maduata and Seaqaqa in our village sometimes, and brought more in and broader around Fiji.
Yeah.
And we've been here for a while now, and this is speaking to what we've seen. Does not apply to every single person, obviously. So the number two option, we want to bring value, which means that we will share our opinion from time to time, which means that it's for sure going to offend some people. And number three is option is we just give up. We don't make content anymore, which to me is not an option. So I've always said like, I just, I just won't give up. Like I'll just outwork and I'll put out more content and we just won't give up. That's just not an option. And so we're going to choose option two to bring you guys value, which will mean sometimes we're going to open ourselves up to getting roasted. Because the more that we speak, look, we're doing podcasts now. We're doing 13 podcasts, which is around 13 hours of us being recorded with thousands and thousands of views, plus the thousands of hours of content that we've put out on the internet.
Yeah.
So like,
for the more something's gonna get
eventually you're gonna screw up.
Yeah.
You're not gonna say things the perfect way, and like that, like there's many ways to interpret, say, that video in particular, but if you want to interpret it in a way that's whatever racist or like, we're being totally discrediting of a whole system
or too privileged,
that's your prerogative. I can't change that for you.
Yeah.
But like, we can't even. I can't ask you to give us the benefit of a doubt. That's on you.
Yeah, it's
like hard. I get to keep going, living my life. I don't know.
It's hard to give people context. It's hard to give people like your true intention in a reel. Like it's not very long, and so you can only cram so much in there, and people will take it out to left field if they want to. And like, go ahead, I guess. Like,
I guess we'll just talk about this, right? Like, I saw one comment, and it was like, I guess you're just doing. I don't know why. I just like scanned through the comment, and it was like, just doing this for the clicks and the dollars. Like it was an Instagram. Comment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, for the dollars?
For the dollars?
Who's getting money off of Instagram and Facebook?
We can't monetize in Fiji.
Yeah,
so that would be nice, but
there's no dollars.
I'm enjoying the hate for free.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, lots of people, like, maybe not lots of people. Maybe there's a few people who think we get a bunch of money from the social media stuff.
Dude, if your hate paid me, I would take all the hate all day.
Yeah.
Just give it to me. Give me that money, because I'm getting broke over here trying to struggle into business in Fiji. And if your hate made me rich, I could take it all day and just go.
But it doesn't do a thing for us. Like, so like putting out offensive content on purpose doesn't do anything.
Yeah, and nobody's actually trying. There was no intention to be offensive. We kind of knew it was a little blunt and not like no context to it, and not maybe the most well-rounded. But we do adore Fiji, and we think like, yeah, do what you can in your home country. We're losing brilliant, amazing Fijians to overseas that could prop up the country, that could do so much.
Yeah, but so the argument to that. I think the main argument that I saw is that, like, minimum wage, the cost of living is so high here, and minimum wage is so low. And I see like there is no way to get ahead. What do you say? Can I explain it? Like,
yeah, you go right ahead. If I say it, I'll get more roasted. So
yeah,
bless your heart and enjoy.
So like, just take for example, like we rent a 1-bedroom suite with a kitchen and bathroom in Seaqaqa for our office. That costs us $250.
No, $220.
$220 a month. So, and the minimum wage right now, it depends on the job. Minimum wage varies. I think it's like $4.20 down to $3 something.
No, right now $4 is the minimum.
Okay.
Each sector goes up to either $4.20 to $4.60.
Okay.
And so on.
Okay. So let's say that you make I don't know. Let's say you make $5, right? In Fiji. Or let's just say you make the minimum wage, which is $4.20.
Yeah.
Like our like a 1-bedroom in the city where we came from, the same equivalent 1-bedroom with a bathroom and a kitchen in the city where we came from is at least double the price, or sorry, at least 10 times the price of what we pay in Canadian dollars. So it is $220 in Seaqaqa. It would be 2,200 Canadian which is way more than 10 times the price we're paying here because of the exchange rate. And the minimum wage where we come from is
$15 an hour.
$15 an hour. So it is about 4 times what it is in Fiji. $4 an hour times 4 is 16. So let's just keep Fiji dollars and Fiji dollars, Canadian dollars and Canada and Canadian dollars. So you have 10 times the living expense just to rent an apartment where we live in Canada, but you only get paid 4 times as much. So the argument that like, oh, you can't save because the cost of living is so high and minimum wage is so low, like, that actually just doesn't line up.
Yeah.
And that's why we never were able to afford to buy a house. And that's also why, for the people who don't know, like, we didn't come over with a bunch of savings. Otherwise, I would live in my own house.
Yeah, we would not live in your family home with relatives.
Yeah, like we have to take up space from everybody else in the house, and they have to put up with our kids running around, and like, you know, they're yelling at the boys sometimes. Like, it's not always what you see on social media. I would have built my own house, you know.
We
like,
would have owned a boat.
Like, I would have had some things that like we could enjoy. So there's like, I just think there's like misconceptions about, you know, how much money we have coming over.
Yeah,
And
like, I think when we were young, like, most of our lives we've lived paycheck to paycheck. I know one year when we were at New Year's with my family, we needed to go to the airport to go. Your parents had paid for a flight for us to go see them.
mhm.
Canada's really big, so we have to drive like 20-ish hours to go see John's parents. So they paid for us to fly, which is really generous of them. But we were supposed to go to the airport on New Year's Eve. And I remember being like, I think we had like $5 in our bank account. And to get a taxi to the airport or even like the bus was much more than $5. And I remember John and I were fighting so much because we were so financially stressed. And I remember asking my brother because he was borrowing my car. And I said, can you just give us a ride to the airport? Because, you know, like, you have my vehicle. I was trying to like justify it to him without telling him like I'm broke. And I was like, please, can you just like, please just give us a ride? Like, it'd be so like great if you could just do that for us. And my brother was just like really annoyed with me and was like, here's some money for a taxi. Like, I'm not driving you on New Year's Eve. Like, are you nuts? And I remember just being so relieved that he just like gave me money because I was too ashamed to ask him because, you know, we'd been married for quite a while. I think this is like 5-6 years into our marriage. I felt like we should be financially secure, and like, we just weren't in the moment because we had so many expenses for Christmas, staff party, and all this kind of stuff. Excuse oh, excuse me, I'm sick, so sorry about that. Can't help but sneeze on the podcast, but I just remember that being quite the interesting struggle, being like 5-6 years into our marriage. Little context with like our financial lives. John and I, when we got married, he was.
Do you really feel like we need to explain our financial lives?
Why not? I don't know. Who cares?
No, it's good. I'm fine with it. I'm just saying, like, yeah.
I think like John and I got married quite young. He was 19. I was 21. We both moved out of our parents' house. I think I was 17 when I moved out. John was 18. Is that right? 17, 18,
17.
somewhere around there. He went to school full time, and I was waitressing, trying to save up money.
We were freaking grinding. Like, dude, I was doing school, like, from, 8 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then I'd work from 4:30 till 11.
Yeah, 11. And
Yeah.
I was doing a morning shift waitressing. I'd pick you up, drop you off at work, and then I would go back for my second shift
At night.
And then depended on when I worked, like, we'd kind of figure out the vehicle situation, because sometimes I'd work till like 12 or 2 in the morning, and you typically got off at 11:30. So I would kind of know, like, some days I'd get off early because there wasn't enough work, so they'd kick me out and say, okay, you're done working. Like, so I'd kind of know, like, Monday, Tuesday slow, so I'd come pick you up, and then we'd hang out for like an hour. And then we didn't live together at the time. We weren't married yet, so we'd go back. We had separate houses, not too far away. We wanted to like make sure we were financially like accommodating whatever we had to work with. But the place we were living was pretty interesting.
The way you do this, like the way that you did it, was like you shared a very small house with the lady who owned the house,
Yeah.
a guy who lived in the basement,
Oh,
and you
dude,
rented a
a
room in the
room.
hallway.
And that
And
room
then I
was
rented a
expensive.
tiny house in a sketchy neighborhood
Well,
with,
we were both in a sketchy neighborhood.
yeah, with my friend.
Yeah.
And I worked full time and he had money
I'm going to say it
to
wasn't
pay
like
for
a
it.
great situation. Like the house I was in, the guy downstairs, super weird guy. I only met him once. And
Crashing video
he was
games.
like playing video games, and I could always hear him through the vent, just like farting and laughing. And it was so weird. Like, I was like, ew, I hate living here. I despised it. I was just like, but that's all I could afford. And
So why
I,
are you talking about this?
just to give people backstory, don't
Right.
worry about it.
Yeah.
And, John and I were just kind of like scrounge whatever we could. We were like saving so hard because we had a wedding to pay for. And we were just like, okay, our wedding had to be on like a
How much did our
major.
wedding end up?
Our
How much
wedding,
did our wedding end up costing?
our wedding cost us 3,500
Right. Which is like, yeah, which is the cheapest wedding.
in Canada.
Yeah.
Yes, like most
Beat it.
weddings, minimum are $10,000 in Canada.
Beat it.
And we
Yeah.
were like, okay, we have to do this. So like whatever we earn, that's all we're
Dude,
spending.
the average wedding in Fiji costs more than $3,000.
But people loved our wedding from what I heard, so I hope that's true. Once we were married, I think we moved to a city close to where. Oh no, wait, let me go back. This is great. I love this. So just to give you context, when John and I say sketchy neighborhood, I remember coming off of work and I took a taxi home because it was dark, and that is not a good area for
This is the city of Saskatoon, by the way.
anyone to walk in. And so I took a taxi to his house, and as I'm pulling past like his street, like the SWAT team is like in
Outside
the
my house.
back alley, like ready to like knock down someone's door for like a drug raid.
Wasn't me.
And I'm and I'm trying to pull through, and all these guys with like machine guns and like Kevlar vests and all this stuff are just like, and they're like shooing me by, like, can you not be in our way because we're about to do this raid? And then I just go around John's like sidewalk and go in the other way, and I'm like, where are we living?
That's
This
so
is
funny.
really all we can afford
Avenue
right
C,
now.
baby.
Yeah.
Saskatoon, alphabet.
Yeah. It was just like, wow, okay. And then once we got married, John and I moved into the cheapest apartment ever. Like, it all had carpet, which was disgusting because all the people that lived in there before you, like, just were so filthy. And I don't even want to think about what was in that apartment, but it was dark and dingy. But at the same time, like, we loved
I
it.
have trouble talking about our lives like this because, like, I just don't look at myself as a victim.
But you're not.
Like,
It was great. We were 19 and 21. Like, that's a great time to
I
have
think
nothing.
the thing is, like, man, people love to, like, talk about the struggle and, like, how, like, they love to, like, look at themselves like victims or, like, look at everybody else who doesn't have it as well as you, like, in a victim mentality. And I just don't get on board with that.
Yeah,
Like, cause like I don't look at myself like my life's a
No.
struggle. Like, for sure, like I didn't have any money to go to university or to pay my rent while I went to school, and like I had to work full time at a freaking seafood restaurant while I was in university.
yeah,
But I wasn't like, oh, my life's a struggle. That's just life.
yeah. It's
Like I
fine.
don't like.
But it's better to struggle when you're young because you don't know any better. You've never lived like you've never made money, so you're just like, this is normal,
Yeah.
and that's great. Like,
And so like we went from you were waitressing, I was doing automotive school, then we moved like to BC, and I guess we kept struggling. Like I don't know, I was making like minimum wage, working full time. You were still waitressing,
I was still waitressing,
and then
and then
I worked my way up a bit. Like
no,
to
and I
another
got
level.
fired from my job. Do you remember I got fired from my waitressing
Yeah,
job?
I got fired too.
Yeah, we all got
Many
fired at
times.
one time. Canada's a hard place to please people, but we got fired. And then when I got fired, I realized, like, you know what? I think I could do this business thing and like create a place for people that like be a boss that appreciated the people that I employ. And so I really wanted to start a business. And a little backstory, like, my parents always encouraged us. They didn't have money just to like throw at us. And my parents are very generous and did an amazing job raising us and providing for us. But they also instilled in us that, like, hey, money doesn't grow on trees. So if you want money as a kid and you want to pay for this, like, you need to go pick up dog poop in your neighbor's yard and ask them if they could pay you for that. Or go ask them, like, hey, what's the thing that you would like done? and could you pay me to do like a job around your house? Like anything doesn't
Dude,
really matter.
that's the greatest side hustle teaching ever.
Ever.
Hey, how can I help you?
How can I
Would
help
you want
you?
me to? What could you pay me to do that would help you?
Yeah. And like
Pick up the
my parents
dogs
always made us.
in the backyard.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Well, and like I picked up so much dog poo, you guys don't even know to make like, if I wanted like a dress, my parents were like, oh, enjoy your dog poop picking up. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. When we did levels of that, we did like raking people's yards and, gardening and whatever they needed. Didn't really matter. We were like, you're going to pay me $20? That's amazing. I love that. And so we
Dude, you
kind
got
of,
paid $20 for 1 yard?
oh man, I got paid nothing.
Oh,
People
okay.
don't want to pay like a 10-year-old anything. They're like, you're 10, here's $5, appreciate it.
Dude, I used to mow lawns like after school, like
Yeah.
cut the grass for this old guy. He was a World War II veteran,
Okay.
and like I swear he didn't pay me anything, hardly. But I would just go because he had the best war stories.
Oh.
Like he just like after he would like ask me to come into the house, and then he would like give me like a cookie and like a cup of tea, and then he'd just tell me like war stories.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, Mr. Hashi, he was legit.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, you can glean knowledge off people. But
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think, like, when I got fired from my job and I wanted to start a business, number one, I was, like, confident that I could start a business. I was like, I've done this since I was 10. I've been, like, hustling. I could make a business out of anything. And I saw my sister-in-law was cleaning houses, and I was like,
Shout out to Larissa,
yeah, shout out to Larissa. You go,
the
girl.
OG cleaning lady.
I just saw, like, I was like, okay, I hate cleaning, number one. I have the worst gag reflex in the whole world. So don't watch me when I clean. My face is like, ew. Like, I look so snobby when I clean. But I don't know, I'm grossed out by it. But I saw her doing it and I was like, I could totally do that. And we had zero money to invest. So I was like, okay, this is like an easy entry business that I could get into to make more money. And then John said to me, okay, that's a nice dream, honey. You have 1 year to make money or you go get a real job. And that was so stressful. Like, so stressful.
Hmm.
And I remember I got another waitressing job because we had to have both incomes to pay for our rent. So I was working from 5 at night to like 12 or 2 in the morning. And then in the day, I'd go out and like knock on people's doors and be like, hey, like, I'd love to clean your house. Could you hire me? And most people yelled at me and swore at me and like chased me off their property. Just a tip, if you guys ever want to move over to Seas, especially to Canada, don't knock on people's doors. They do not
Yeah, bad
appreciate
idea.
it. But what got me my first couple clients is I put out an ad that I would clean your house for free. And if you liked the job that I did, that hopefully you'd hire me back. There was like no guarantee. But I think I did 6 or 7 houses, which was roughly like 60, 70 hours of cleaning for free. But I got my first 2 clients out of that. And that's kind of how we started our business that we have today. Was just free cleaning in the hopes that somebody would be like, wow,
So you
you're
don't,
amazing.
for everybody thinking that you need some like big, like everybody wants capital. Like, what do you need capital for? What you need is hard work and
Yeah.
determination.
Yeah.
And you got to go out there and you got to ask. I'm going to tell you what the capital you need is. The capital that you need is the determination to go and ask people, how can I help you?
Yeah.
How can I help make your job better? Or how can I help you make your running your business easier?
Yeah, and when they tell you that, figuring out the solution for them, and then be consistent
Like I had a
and
meeting.
follow through.
I didn't even tell you this. I had a meeting with one of the big banks in Fiji today. They came over with a bunch of their executives to the coffee shop, and we got talking, and I just literally asked them, how can we help you guys achieve your goals?
Yeah.
And then it totally like snowballed, and they were like, we want to be able to identify more with the community, and we're 100% Fijian owned, and all the profits go back into the FNPF.
Oh, cool.
And we want people to know that that we're a local bank. And I'm like, well, you guys need to tell that story, and you guys need to be honest about people, because like when we go to open bank accounts, all of us in Fiji are like, why the heck is it so hard to open a bank account?
Yeah.
Make yourselves relatable to us. Answer the questions that everybody has. And like that whole thing. So they're like, okay, well, then we're in talks about like, okay, how are we able to work together? How can we help them? And all of this stems from like a question of like, how can I help you achieve your goals?
Yeah.
How so like if you came to me as a person off the street and say, how can I help you? Like, do you have a job that I can do that you don't want to do that would help you run your business more efficiently? I'm all ears. Or like, I'm thinking of something to task you with. Like
Yeah.
that's capital. That like you guys, you got to stop thinking about like all the money you need to do things. You don't need money. You need determination.
You need what we call hustle. You need
Yeah.
to work harder than everybody else and not worry that you have to work crazy hard because eventually it will pay off.
Yeah.
Like for the year that I was building our business in Canada, John was working full time. So I was doing double shifts. I didn't see my husband very much. There was a lot of pressure. And then on his side of work, like he was working full time, and then his boss was pretty demanding. So we do extra things at his work, try to make money on the side as well. And I think it was just like, okay, let's grind this out because we're young. And it's like, easier because we don't have kids, so we could do like these crazy long shifts, and then like 1 or 2 days a week we just go camping, relax, have a laugh, and then we're back to it. And I think like we've built a business for ourselves in Canada from the ground up that sustains us here. And it's not
Mm.
because we are just like lucky and like someone fed us money and was like, here, you thought you could do a business and like you thought you'd be good enough to do it. Here's some money so you could give it a try. It's like, no, no, nobody was doing that. Like, if I ever wanted to ask for money, I have to prove that I can work hard enough, that I'm determined enough to do just the basic stuff. And I've never actually asked people for financial like backing, but like I didn't end up needing to because John and I hustled hard enough that we grew something that was worthwhile.
And for sure, like, so we are the type of people. I think we need to work our way away from this. Like, we've, I think we've explained to people
Yeah.
now, like where we came from.
John
Like,
and I love pain. We love hardship. We enjoy the hustle. That's why we're in Fiji. We enjoy the hustle.
here's the thing. Everybody thinks like, oh, we're coming here with a bunch of money and it's like easy for us and whatnot. It's like, there's some things that I can't talk about right now because it's private as far as like, it's private contractually, and like, I can't talk about it. But there's some things that one day, like, I would love to be able to like discuss with people that like will surprise people about like some of the assets that we have and how we actually and like how we got them,
Yeah.
and like the reality about our lives. And like people think that like we have all this stuff, but it's like, oh, you don't actually know.
Yeah.
You
And
don't know the story.
I just love some of the Facebook comments that were like, or even whatever social media was like, oh, must be nice to come with all your money. And I was like,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
classic. That's classic Cameron Haynes and Joe Rogan. Nobody knows the reference to that podcast, but
I
that
don't
was
know
like
the reference to that
everybody like
podcast.
Cameron Haynes is an ultra marathon runner
Okay.
who's like made like he has a huge social media following. Go check him out. He's really inspirational. Basically, a guy who's like, stop making excuses, go out and put the miles in.
Yeah.
And so he's really good friends with Joe Rogan. And so they had a thing. It's like, so his motto is work harder, nobody
Work
cares.
harder. And like
Like,
enjoy
no,
enjoy
work harder, nobody cares.
yeah.
Because nobody cares. Nobody cares about like the fact that we just told our story of our lives, because like all of the people who are hating on social media, they're not listening to this. They stop listening because they're interested in hating, not in
Yeah.
like hearing us validate ourselves. So it's
That's
like,
true. That's why we
work
didn't.
harder
That's why
because
we didn't
nobody
put up a
cares.
rebuttal on social media because we're like, well, it's not really gonna validate us. It's not really gonna like
Because at the end of the day, if you want to
help.
judge us, come talk to our employees at our coffee shop and
Yeah,
ask them how they feel about the way that we treat them.
yeah,
Go ask them. Come to Seaqaqa. Come to the north. Bet you never been here. Come to Seaqaqa. Bet you never stopped in. And come talk to our employees and ask them how they feel about the way that they've been treated by us.
yeah. I hope.
Ask our business
Yeah,
admins. You know,
yeah.
like,
I feel like
so
that's the validation. I think like for.
nobody cares. Work harder.
I think I even said to you like, the post that was happening was like, I think I said last like podcast, like, I don't like the hate, it's too hard for me, and like, okay, actually I can take a lot more than I think I can. But I think like I was whining about it. I was whining about it to one of our employees that I'm close with, that we're friends, me and her, and she was just saying like, no, 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 and like just kind of just making me feel like, no, like the benefit of like seeing a new perspective, and like, I she can see the things that we're actually like working towards, and like she felt like the goal of it and wanted to like jump on board with us. So I was like, okay, actually, like I feel better because the person that's in front of me that I care about, that is a reality for me, is validating the things that I'm doing and appreciates it. And I know that like, in life, like I don't want to need to be validated, but it's nice to have people that are close to you being like, don't worry about it. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, let's not worry about it, because the majority of people hopefully understand the intention. And that's why we've also put 3 years of our lives out there, showing you guys that hopefully you can see that we have good intentions. We actually love Fiji, and there's struggles here. It's harder than back home. And if we didn't love the country, we didn't love the people, we didn't want good for Fiji, I don't know why we would come here, because it is
So
less
here's the thing. It's
comfortable.
like we could keep running a business in Canada and have no social media following,
Mm-hmm.
or we could come here, try to get a social media following, and have no business, and start from scratch again. And so that's what we did,
Yeah.
because the backstory to us with the Waka brand was sitting here on one of our family trips to come see my grandma and grandpa before they passed away, sitting on the veranda looking at the mountain outside of our village and being like, there's potential in the land. Our Matangali has over 3,000 acres that's not being used, and we need to do something about it. And that's where our mission was born out of, like for the company,
Yeah. And
to create employment opportunities through the responsible utilization of our resources. And that's why we came here. And so, yeah, I just feel like we just need to like close the conversation,
yeah.
because
Well, and I think it's good to say like Fiji has a lot of opportunity, but business opportunity, it just takes someone that wants to hustle, that can see something even that's being already done overseas, and put it into action over in Fiji, because a lot of things are not happening here that are happening overseas. And I think like something new, something fresh, with the proper advertising,
yeah.
is
And
what Fiji
if you have
needs.
any questions, or you want you're curious about like a hustle or a side hustle, like you go to school and you want to make money, you think you need capital. I'm telling you, you don't need capital. You need hustle.
Yeah.
Like, you got to go door to door in the community that you think is your target market and tell them what you do. Tell them about how you're going to solve their problems. But to close this off, I'm going to set up an email address after this. So email advice@wakafarms.com. Again, that's advice@wakafarms.com if you'd like any advice on how to set up your business. I'll keep that email address live. And if you guys like want some tips on like, if you come at me with an idea, at least do the work of having an idea, and like let me poke some holes in it, or let me show you like let me be able to advise you on like a direction to go.
Yeah, and John and I are not well off enough that we're gonna just throw money at you, because we can't.
I don't have any money to throw at
That
you.
would be great if we could,
Yeah.
but
I take some money from you. You can throw some money at me.
we will encourage you in a direction of how to hustle, why to hustle.
Yeah.
Hopefully, give you some perspective and some like good questions for you to poke some holes in your own business ideas and go, is this a good business idea?
There's an old song, and I'm gonna close this section of the podcast with these lyrics. Okay, it's a song by Fort Minor, and this is the chorus. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name.
And just remember, if you start your own business, you can be your own worst boss. we're going to talk about this in some of the reels that we do coming up here. I made some that like you can be your own worst boss because you will be an employee in the company, or you can own a business and a business runs without you, is sellable, has different qualities. You don't work in it, you work on it. So those are things that we're going to be working
Yeah,
on.
let's talk about that.
Oh, okay. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
let's talk about that because that's not. We'll just close that off. If anybody has questions, advice@wakafarms.com.
Okay.
Advice@wakafarms.com. So what Stephanie was talking about when it comes to business is like, there's like the way we look at it, and the way a book that I would recommend for everybody to read is called The E-Myth.
It's
Right?
boring, guys, but it is the best business advice I've ever had. And I listen to it once a year.
Yeah. It's called The E-Myth Revisited. And so revisited just meaning that it's been revisited and it's been updated to be a bit more modern.
Yeah.
But so like one of the topics of the book is like, okay, so you people think like I have a business because I have a business license. That is not true. There's a difference between a business and a job. Like many people have created for themselves a job that has a business license with their name on
Yeah.
it, meaning that you can't go on holidays and keep making money. Like when you leave, business stops. That's a job, which
Yeah.
is fine, which is totally valid.
Nothing
And there's
wrong with
nothing,
that.
absolutely nothing wrong with that. But a business has systems and procedures that enable you to either start more locations or be able to walk away from it and go to a family funeral or a family function
And you
or
still make
go on
money.
holidays, and the business continues to make you money.
Yeah.
So both are totally valid. Both have their place. Just like a 9 to 5 job has its place,
Yeah.
and working for an employer. There are many, many times per week, maybe even per day, where I wish that I had a 9 to 5 job that just gave me a solid income.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like what people, they glamorize owning your own business. What they don't understand is the stress and the pressure to actually make it successful. Nobody else is just sending you a paycheck.
Guys, I want to start serving pizza. Okay. So people are like, oh, that's not hard. Like, you need an oven. Oh, and then, so I'm going to build the list here for you guys. Okay. Ready? You need a bigger fridge because we didn't need a fridge before. Like, we needed a little fridge, but now we got to get a big fridge.
Yeah.
Oh, then we need containers because we got to make the sauces because we're going to be making the best pizza at our coffee shop, which is Fresh Tea+Coffee, which is actually who's sponsoring this podcast, which is located between Savu and Lambasa. So if you guys are ever going from Savu to Lambasa or vice versa, or even to Nambualu, stop in Seaqaqa at Fresh Tea+Coffee. I guarantee you're going to have the best iced Americano or long black or latte in Fiji. I've tried them. It's the best. So while you're trying to you just want to serve pizza, right? That's not hard. You got to set up accounts with the guys who wholesale cheese because you can't afford to buy cheese from the grocery store.
No.
Yeah. And then you got to have fridges. And then, you got to have takeaway boxes for pizza, right? Because it's pizza. Oh, welcome to $800 for 500 boxes.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of hidden expenses in
Rolling
simple
pins
ideas.
And measuring cups and
for us to
portion
level up
size
from
things.
a coffee or cafe to actually serving food, just for a health license went from $140 to $389
Holy
a year.
smokes, yeah.
Which is not crazy for some people, but for us right now, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I almost gagged. I was
yeah.
like, oh my gosh, you're killing us here.
These are things that lots of people have to pay, but you just think not you listening to this podcast. I'm saying you, like me. I'm like, let's try pizza because everybody wants pizza. Everybody tells us they want pizza. And then there's a bunch of hidden costs that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah. Always, and that's the pressure of owning your own business. You wanna level up. You wanna do things better, and it costs you, and you have to figure out, okay, how am I gonna pay for all of this?
So I'd encourage everybody to also look at the way reverse engineer things. How much money do you need to make this year? What do you want to do? How much is it gonna cost? If you I've looked at money this way for a while now. If I need $10,000 next year to do X, Y, and Z, then I need to figure out, okay, instead of figuring out okay, I just need to make more money. Figure out exactly how much you need to make and reverse engineer it. So it's like, if I need to make 10 grand, then I need to, like when we were in Canada, I'd be like, okay, I need to buy like a couple motorcycles or 3 motorcycles and sell them for this much profit so I can make 10 grand or something like that.
Yeah.
And buy cheap motorcycles, fix them for a couple $100 and make a couple $1,000s on them.
Well, I'm
So like
gonna say
reverse engineer money. Don't think of just like money is just like, I just need more of it. Think about an exact amount and then work backwards from it and be like, okay, if I make $20 per job that I do for plumbing and I want to get $1,000, that means I need to do 50 jobs.
yeah.
So that means I need to do one job every certain amount of days to get to my goal this year. Like
Yeah.
really figure it out and break it down. Make it practical so that you have a target and a goal to hit.
Yeah, John used to flip motorcycles for extra income to pay for things like we tried to start a farm in Fiji like 3 years before we moved here.
Mm-hmm.
So he used to buy and sell motorcycles, and a lot of it was funny. Like you'd go find a motorcycle that was like great condition but had terrible photos, and then you'd buy it with like our savings and then wash it and take better photos and make like way more money off of it.
Must be nice.
Must be nice.
Must be nice.
Must be nice. But it was a risk because a few times we lost money on it.
Mm-hmm.
A few times we broke even, but it was like, it was fun. It was thrilling. It was, I don't know, like it was one of those things where we were young and like risking it. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I love risking it. Obviously, like we moved to Fiji
But like
to
find
risk
a way
it
that your
all.
hobbies can like pay for themselves.
Yeah, well,
Like,
that's
I
how you
love-
started.
Yeah, I love motorcycles, but I can afford to have them. So like what I do is like at the beginning, I saved up so that I could buy my first motorcycle.
Yeah.
And then I fixed it and sold it. I didn't want that motorcycle, but I just bought one that was a good deal,
Yeah.
fixed it up, sold it, and then bought one that was closer to the one that I wanted. I never actually got the motorcycle I wanted because I didn't have the money to just
Yeah.
go and buy exactly what I wanted. I just bought whatever was a good deal. And also, you never make money on the sale.
No.
For those of you who are wondering, whether it's a house, whether it's a car, whether it's a motorcycle or whatever, you always make money on the purchase. So finding a better deal up front is way easier than trying to get a higher price on the back end.
Yeah, that's right.
So I would buy a motorcycle, ride it for the season, and then fix it up and sell it. Make a little bit of money, and it would pay for the motorcycles.
And
And so, like, if you like drinking kava, then maybe the best bet for you is to go and plant some, and then drink your own stuff, and then sell it. So you don't have to go and buy these 50-gram packs for $5
Yeah.
or $6. You know, like like if you have a hobby, figure out how that hobby can just pay for itself.
yeah.
Like try to plant an average of 1 plant per day. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Go up once a week and plant 7 plants. That's not hard.
No. And John and I took a class, like a financial class. And the thing that we took out the most from it was your money needs to make you more money. So, meaning like, or your hobbies need to make you money. So we had a guy that was teaching a financial class and he told us, because I wanted to go camping, I bought a trailer. And he said, I couldn't actually afford that trailer. However, I posted it and allowed other people to rent it out. And me and my family only took it out, 2 weeks of the summer. The rest of the time, that trailer was paying for itself because I couldn't actually afford to pay for it. And so he used that, like the joy thing for his family to get out, but he also rented it out and did the work on, after work. He cleaned it and, rotated it and rented it out so he could pay for that thing for his family without losing money. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Like and then now I think he said after a certain amount of years, it paid itself off and they no longer owed money on that. And then they could do their hobby for free. And so he's like, my money made me money and paid for my hobby. So he bought this thing that it stretched them financially, but he used it to make more money. And then
Yeah.
it paid itself off. And then he can still rent it out, but he'll take that money and buy something else, maybe even a second trailer, and just permanently rent that one out.
Yeah.
And double down on his money. And I just thought, yeah, that's really wise. Like, how can we take things that we own or that we enjoy and make money from those things to pay for the excess things? Because our 9 to 5 jobs, our paychecks only pay for so much in our lives, and it's the side hustle or it's the different things that we do, or our hobby things that can pay for like the joy that we have in our lives or make us more money, or I don't know. It's a unique way of looking at your money needs to make you more money. I was even saying to our someone we work with, just saying like John and I bring bananas to the coffee shop, and we sell them for like $1 a bundle because they're just out there. We're not at the market.
A
We just
dollar, a dollar a heap.
a heap. Oh, sorry.
Dollar a bundle would be the best deal in the world.
Oh, sorry, a heap. My English. And she normally buys a lot of them and takes them home and makes banana jam, and then sells it for more. And I was telling her, yeah, that's awesome. Like I love
That's hustle.
that. That's such hustle. And then I was telling her, save that banana jam money and like do something with it. Like buy like a projector. I know you don't love this idea, but this is the only one I have. Buy a projector and like play movies and make people pay like $2 to come see like a big screen movie once in a while. Like make your money make more money. And maybe that's not the best idea in the world, but like think of something that you can take your banana jam money and create it into something even bigger and more exciting, because your money should make you more money.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
Are there any insecurities from previous relationships that you carried into this one? And if so, what are they?
So, number one, this is our relationship game. Ooh. Okay, I've got my number one insecurity from prior relationships. When me and you met, the first date you took me on, you told me you loved me. And I have been told...
I recommend every guy do that on their first date.
No, I do not. I don't know how it's going to go.
Oh my gosh.
I remember I told you, like, I just kind of laughed and was like, that's nice. No, you don't. You can take that back. Like, just wait on that and
I
don't.
definitely did not take it back.
No, you didn't. And I had insecurities because I've had a lot of
Guys,
guys.
I was insistent. If you love her, just tell her you love her. If
You
she
were
won't
very
tell you she
insistent.
loves you, just keep telling you.
Yeah.
Keep telling her you love her.
Okay, this is about my insecurities.
Nobody cares. Love harder.
So
Just made that up.
I've had a lot of guys in my past say, I love you. And
Wow.
well, it's not a vanity
Didn't want to
thing.
hear that.
It's a reality thing. So,
Wow. Okay. Self-conscious.
Okay. Anyway, I had found in my past that men love to say I love you. And then when you're like, okay, so what does that mean for you? Like, are you going to marry me? Or like, where's
Bruh,
this
you
going?
didn't know me.
I didn't know
You
you,
didn't
yeah.
know
But
me.
most other men, if you're like, okay, is this actually serious? Like, is it going somewhere? They run for the hills because they're small boys and they're like, I don't know if I can marry you. And you're like, so what does
Okay, how about me? How about me?
love you mean?
Ready.
Like, no, wait. And then
I'm ready. Oh.
you dedicated to the I love you. And I don't think I said it to you for another like 6-7 months because
So
I was
rough.
like, let's not rush
You
this.
literally say, I don't love you. And then once in a while, you'd say, I love
did
you.
not say I love you. I said I don't love
No,
you.
no. Okay,
I
but
would do this. John would be
you
like,
sometimes-
okay, love you. And I would be like the girl being like, yeah, I love you too. And then be like, wait, not like that.
You know, they'd be like, I take that back. Yo, so rough when a
Because it was
girl's
a
like,
courtesy I love you, not like a real I love you.
yeah, but it's so rough when a girl's like, I love you. You're like, oh my gosh,
You're like,
she loves me. And then
"Oh."
she's like, never mind, I take it back. You're like, well, I'm going to go end myself now. That's what I used to think. I'm like, I feel terrible.
Well, you just jumped the gun, honey. I love you now.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. That's not
I
me.
said yes to you.
All the guys out there, you can go screw yourselves. All the ones who said I love you to my wife. You better take it back right now. I'm coming for you. Okay, so
yeah,
for me,
and wait, all the people on Twitter chasing my husband, it's hilarious.
hey. No, I'm good.
It's so funny.
I'm good.
Just take a look. Hashtag, what is it, _ Waka Dad?
Maybe.
I think
'Kay.
something like that.
Yo, I have so many insecurities from my previous relationships.
because
So
he
like,
had
so like
a
I had,
zero.
just for backstory, I had a lot. I had a lot of relationships coming into this one. A lot of friends, a lot of guy friends, a lot of
Um, I think you need to restate yourself. I think you need to just say, I was in the friend zone a
Okay, I was in
lot.
the friend zone. I did not have a lot of guy friends. I am a straight man. I did have a lot of friends, and a lot of them were men. I did not have many girlfriends. I had no girlfriends actually before Stephanie. Stephanie was my
Yeah.
first
I was
girlfriend.
his first girlfriend, and
I
he
was
was
the guy.
madly in love with
I
me.
was a guy who was always in the friend zone. I
Yeah.
was good at listening, and as probably today, decent at being strategic with my words. So I would listen really well to the girls, and then be like, I understand why you feel the way you feel. And I think that this is probably the best way to approach the situation and talk to him.
Talk to him.
And in giving you this advice and telling you how to like lovingly deal with your crush, that'll probably mean that you eventually have a crush on me, right?
Oh,
And they're like, no, I'm too busy right
no.
now with high school sports. And I'm like, haha, it's high school sports. You're not busy with high school sports. You just don't like me. That's a really
Yeah.
bad excuse. So
But the best part,
that may or may not be my experience with telling a girl that I liked her.
but okay, wait. The best part for me is like I moved like 20 something hours away from where I grew up, and I met Jonathan there. And all the girls, and John and I met at church. We met at in all of his like youth group friends and whatever. I felt, and I could be misrepresenting it, but I felt that they hated me because all of a sudden I stole Jonathan from them, and they didn't have any interest in him before, but then all of a sudden this like new person came in and was like, yeah, this is the guy. They were like,
Keep
um
talking, keep talking. I feel so good
excuse
about
me.
myself right now. I'm
Well,
the
what?
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like for me, I was interested in Jonathan because I came from a relationship prior that the guy I was with was not chasing after Jesus. He did not have the best influence around him. And when I met John, I could see that he loved Jesus. I could see that the friends that he surrounded with himself with loved Jesus. And I just thought, yeah, like this is what I really want. Like, regardless of anything else, like, what an amazing thing to have is such a passion for Jesus, and I can see it, and such a good friend group to support him in. And as I got to know him, obviously, I fell in love with you. Um,
Oh.
yeah, but I think, like, yeah, everybody comes with their scars and their drama and things that's hard to work through. And even something for us that was hard to work through, which is funny, is I remember in Canada, I come from a beach town, and so
Mm.
we're allowed to wear really short shorts in comparison to what would be appropriate in Fiji. And for us, even like me growing up, it wasn't inappropriate. People wore way shorter shorts than I ever did. And I remember Jonathan saying to me, "You can't wear those shorts." He wanted me to wear like knee length, like basketball shorts kind of thing. And we had our first biggest fight ever about how I looked and how I dressed. And I kind of put that back to like, oh, this is like a weird like cultural thing where like that's coming from like something different than Canada. And that was kind of where I realized like, oh, okay, there's going to be some like interesting cultural differences in our relationship.
Mm.
Yeah. I remember just being like, and my mother even was like, is he serious? Yeah. He's really serious about that. That was a hard one for me.
What I want to talk about tonight to close this podcast off is the Bible and what we learned in it in our time in the Word this week. Because, I want everybody to know, and there's very few people who probably made it to the end of this podcast, but like, I want everybody to know that Jesus loves you. And the reason that we do what we do is because we want people to know that we believe that Christian business people can change the world
Hmm.
and change it for good. And it hurts us when we get misunderstood, and we don't like being misunderstood. And we don't think that, but we also acknowledge that Jesus went around, and we only have like 3 short years that he was documented for. And he ended up being killed for what he was trying to show us that was ultimately good. So like people don't always see what you're trying to do in the moment. And but we want people to know that like what we do, we try to do in love, and we're not trying to do this for the clicks. We're not trying to do it for the bait. We don't get paid from Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever any of these things are. So, like, but we want you guys to know that like Jesus loves you, and so that is the focus of our lives, and that's what we. I'll give up all the business. I'll lose all my limbs right now if it means that my kids get to know Jesus and go to heaven. So, all of this doesn't matter unless those things happen, and so that's why we talk about this at the end of the podcast, because this is the most important thing to me, and this is how I want to lead my family, and I think that or I pray that this is important, or in the future, this just stirs up some conversation for you guys. What stood out to me this week was I'm reading through the Old Testament right now. There's two parts of the Bible, main parts. One is the Old Testament, one is the New Testament. Old Testament is kind of like the origin story, kind of what we just talked about with our lives, but the origin story of mankind. And the New Testament talks about the life of Jesus and the life of the people who experienced being with him and life after. And so I'm reading the Old Testament, which is before Jesus. And so this is the Moses and God talking. And I just found this really interesting. I'll just read this. Exodus 33 at the end. Then the Lord said, "There is a place near me where you may stand on a rock. When my glory passes by, I will put you in a cleft in the rock and cover you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will remove my hand and you will see my back, but my face must not be seen." So Moses in this chapter was like, I just want to see you, God. I want to see you. I want to see you. And God's like, no, you can never actually see me. Like, you can't actually handle seeing me. But what I can do to kind of appease you is like, I can put my hand over your face. I'll put you inside of a rock, and then I'll pass by you and you get to see my backside. And I'm like, I don't know. I just found that really, really interesting because, with the Trinity, we have God, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And so God's, three in one. God's like, you can't even see me. You can't see my face. You couldn't handle it. You die. And then Jesus, like the woman who had like the problem of the issue of bleeding, and she like goes and like touches his cloak and like gets healed. And then Jesus like turns around and is like, whoa, like somebody, I felt some power leave me. Like, who are you? Show your face to me. And like, she got to like see Jesus face to face, like he wanted to meet her. And then we have the Holy Spirit that like gets to live inside us, and we get to walk around in confidence, knowing that like, hey, he walks with us. We don't got to be afraid of anything. And so, I just found it really cool that like you have this like God can't even be seen. Jesus, like, I want to be seen. I want to see you. I want to be with you. I want to like see your face. And the Holy Spirit, who's like, I want to go with you everywhere. Yeah, I just found that really, really cool. Like there's things that we will never understand about the Trinity, but I find those kind of things like, it just gives me like a little bit of insight and helps me to understand it like a bit better.
To be honest, I didn't read my Bible much this week. I was having a hard time taking anything out of it. Something that I was focusing on this week with like, I don't know, all the flack that I was getting online was mostly like, okay, number one, you need to love your enemy. As much as like people online are not your enemy, but people that say hurtful things, sometimes you feel spiteful towards, you still need to love them, and not lash back out, and love your neighbor and love the people that are around you. Does that, I think like, interesting how like race has to come into everything nowadays, and I'm like, you know what, God doesn't care about the color of your skin. Like, love your neighbor, whoever that is. And I think this is an interesting fight to like pursue through like love. Like, you can't actually defend yourself in that situation. You can only try to love people better. And I think like that would be the way I would like to fight that, is just being like, you know what? congratulations. You can say all these things or blame it on all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can show you that I love my neighbor and I love you, even though you are not loving me right now, I think like that's what I can like find a beautiful moment and kind of find my identity in Christ with. Like, it doesn't matter what you say about me. God said, love you.
Mm.
And God said that that's my obligation. And as a Christian, that's what I am supposed to be pursuing because He would do that for you. He can forgive you for anything. And so we are supposed to pursue forgiving you for everything as well.
Yeah.
And all those comments, I think if you knew me, if you spent time with me, like not everybody will love me. I'm a big personality, but I think like you could understand more context and just life experience. And I think like if you could see the intention behind things, you wouldn't go there. And I think like all this kind of crap that's been spewed by people is taught and is nonsense. And I think if we can just learn to love each other and look past the nonsense that we've been taught about one another, I think like that's what God would want, like for us as Christians, as us as a community. And I don't think as a country, in any country, that we do a benefit by separating ourselves by race or opinion or whatever. I think like we would flourish more as communities if we could embrace each other and look at each other's point of views.
Mm.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I've been thinking about.
Totally
This
agree.
week.
If you hate us, we love you. If you love us, we love you.
Yeah.
If you want to go overseas, go overseas.
Yeah.
If you got a family here, please come back to your family or take your family with you. We're not saying overseas is bad. I think there's a lot of opportunities all over the world. But what's important is you go with a goal and you stay dedicated to that goal and you keep hustling hard. If you're a rugby player, go to every single freaking training and never miss a training and make sure you show up to the game on game day, injured or not. Get the physio, whatever you need. If you're working on a chicken farm in northern Saskatchewan, go out there when it's cold because you're there for a reason.
Yeah.
Know why you're there. Keep hustling.
Don't miss opportunities.
Don't miss opportunities. If you're in Fiji, you don't need capital. You need hustle. And if you need advice, email me at advice@wakafarms.com. This episode was brought to you by Fresh Tea and Coffee in Seaqaqa.
Yeah.
We love
Thanks
you
guys
guys.
for listening.
We're
Love
out.
you.